What if I told you there's a single, elegant, geometric blueprint that describes everything in our universe? I mean, everything. From the structure of an atom to the periodic table of elements, and even the double helix of our own DNA. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a fascinating theory called supersymmetric geometric quantum mechanics, or SGQM, that says that's exactly the case.
Okay, let's jump right in. The whole theory really hinges on one core idea. It's called the Aetheron theorem, and it asks you to forget thinking about mass and energy as two different things. Instead, this theorem suggests they're just geometric projections of a single unified state. It's kind of like looking at the shadow of a spinning top from the side versus from above. You see two totally different shapes, but they both come from the same object. So where does all this geometry live? The theory proposes it all exists in this fundamental substrate called the Aetheron. Now, this is not the old-school idea of some static, boring ether. No. This is a vibrant 12-dimensional fabric of reality. That's our 3 spatial dimensions, 1 dimension of time, plus 8 internal dimensions. And it's the geometry of those hidden dimensions that actually encodes all the properties of matter, like charge and spin. It's in constant motion, constantly organizing itself. And that's what gives rise to everything we see and experience. So that's the big picture idea. But how does this geometric fabric actually, build our world? Let's start with a classic mystery, right from the heart of chemistry, the structure of the atom itself. For more than a century now, we've known that electrons don't just buzz around an atom's nucleus randomly. They're locked into these very specific shells, and each shell can only hold a very precise number of electrons. The rules work perfectly, but the deeper why, the fundamental reason for this incredibly rigid structure, that's still a really fascinating question. And it all comes down to this pattern, these magic numbers. The first shell holds 2 electrons, the next one holds 8, then 18, and so on. Now, a famous formula in quantum mechanics describes this pattern perfectly. It's one of the most successful predictive formulas in all of science for sure. But SGQM is asking a different question. What is physically generating this pattern? Is it just some abstract rule, or is it a physical necessity? And here is where SGQM just flips the whole problem on its head. The conventional view says electrons follow these abstract quantum rules, period. But SGQM suggests these magic numbers aren't abstract at all. They are the only stable geometric harmonics that the Aetheron's fabric can actually support. Think about a guitar string. It can only vibrate at certain frequencies to produce a clear note. In the same way, electrons can only settle into these specific geometric configurations. Any other arrangement would be unstable and just fizzle out. Okay, so if the rules for single atoms are fundamentally geometric, what happens when you start building with them? What does that mean for the elements they form? Well, let's see how this scales up to one of the most iconic charts in all of science, the periodic table. And this is just such a cool way to look at it. On the left, that's the familiar periodic table we all learned in school. But SGQM proposes that this flat chart, it's just a 2D projection. It's the flattened shadow of a much deeper 12-dimensional helical structure. The real organization of the elements, according to this theory, is a spiral. So in this helical view, every time you go down a row on the old table, it's like climbing one level up this spiral staircase. Each new coil represents a new, stable dimensional resonance layer that's being activated within the Aetheron. And that's why you can have new, more complex elements. The very geometry of spacetime is allowing for more intricate, stable harmonics to exist. Okay, so this is the crucial point. If this underlying geometry is dictating how atoms are built and how all the elements are organized, the theory then asks a truly profound question. Does this same geometry also dictate the structure of life itself? You can see the logical progression here, right? It's like this cascade of organization. The Aetheron's fundamental geometry sets the rules for stable atoms. Those atoms then combine into ordered molecules following the patterns of the geometric periodic table. And the theory suggests the next level of that ordering isn't just bigger molecules, but information itself, the actual code of life. And this leads to one of the most incredible, mind-bending ideas in the entire theory. SGQM proposes that the DNA double helix, well, it isn't just some random complex chemical molecule. It's a macroscopic antenna. Its specific helical shape is no accident. It's a structure that is precisely tuned to resonate with the core rotational axes of the Aetheron. This makes it the perfect shape for stably storing and transmitting information across time. This quote just nails it. It reframes physics and biology not as these totally separate fields, but as different expressions, different musical notes, you could say, all being played on the exact same fundamental instrument. The geometric principles that give you a stable atom are fundamentally related to the principles that give you a stable DNA helix.
So what you should take away from this is that even something as fundamental as evolution gets a new lens. A genetic mutation, maybe it isn't just a random chemical typo when the code is being copied. It could be seen as a slight perturbation, a misalignment in this unbelievably stable geometric waveform, kind of like a tiny scratch on a record that messes with the music. All right, let's pull all of this together. Let's look at what this unified geometric blueprint for all of reality truly implies.
So we've really gone on a journey here. We started with a single theorem, the idea that mass and energy are just geometry. We saw how that could define the magic numbers inside an atom, how it could reshape the periodic table into a spiral, and finally, how it could explain the iconic shape of DNA as a form of geometric resonance. It's an absolutely stunning, holistic vision of the universe.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really provocative thought. This theory suggests that things we think of as fundamental, stability, energy, information, are all just emergent properties of a single coherent geometric field. If that's right, if reality is fundamentally built on resonance, could we one day learn to manipulate matter not just through chemistry, but by directly influencing its fundamental geometric frequency? Could we, in essence, learn to tune reality itself?